We were just talking about that, and then it happened for real. Oh my god.
JB, thank you for saying that in the chat, because I've been sitting here wondering
We
about
would have played this entire session, and it would have been awesome. It would have been the best session I ever would have run, and we wouldn't have been
Normally it does take 2 or 3 minutes for it to come up, so I waited the 2 or 3 minutes.
No, I appreciate that. It's just funny because I really did. Barker was just saying I forgot to hit go live, and I literally just did that. Hello, everyone. Hello again. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt. We just did this spiel because I forgot to hit go live. Welcome to Mecha Hack Paladins. I'm going to do a recap, and then we're going to jump into the game. Last time on Mecha Hack Paladins, the Paladins explored their new ship called the Okami, the ship built by Tulip Cho's grandmother. They also were able to converse with the ghost of Director Saxifrage in the form of this data crystal. That went a lot better than the first time, just throwing that out there. And they were able to ask some questions and sort of uncover some secrets. They started putting the pieces together, and there were some revelations that occurred. The biggest one was the connection between some of the Paladins and their families, their friends. The fact that Director Saxifrage and Tulip Cho's grandmother worked on this ship together, and the fact that it was financed by the Bastion family. And we soon found out that Regael was not Regael, but was in fact Pax Bastion, the heir to the Bastion family. And while exploring the ship, getting a feel for it, talking to this hologram of Director Saxifrage, getting their questions answered, they decided on the next step, which was to journey to the Bastion homeworld of Infernus and reclaim Regael's birthright, the fortune and assets and resources that are owed to him, so that they might have those resources at their disposal in their ongoing fight. They also discovered, or rather confirmed, that the attack on their installation of Tintagel was not in fact the Terran Collective, but was the Neo-Dominion attacking their own forces. Near the end of the session, Zasha opted to turn herself in to the commander, Mora, feeling conflicted and feeling that she would not be able to put the Paladins before her family, who were still at the whim of the Neo-Dominion. She locked herself in a containment cell where she remains. At the end of the session, we cut away. We saw the other Saxifrage, this younger Saxifrage, who addressed a mecha pilot and referred to them as Paladin Warhawk. When the Paladin removed their helmet, it was revealed that it was Mora, or someone that looked incredibly like Mora. That was where we left ourselves last time. So let's find out what happens next. The Okami hurtles through space. Though you move at blinding speeds, you remain mostly stationary inside. The rattling hull around you quieted to a hum. You hear the engines coursing like a heartbeat through the ship. The ship seems to breathe with oxygen, with gravity, with this thrust that it is creating. Zasha, you're sitting in your containment cell, and you have this small sort of circular, almost like a porthole that you can see out of. And as you look up out of this porthole, you see the luminescent gases of the Nidus Nebula give way to open space, twinkling stars in the distance. You see the distant glimmer of moons and planets wheeling in their orbits here in Lodestar Alpha. You have left the Nidus Nebula. Where you're going, you're not sure. What is going through your mind right now as you sit alone in the containment cell? Listen to the engine's course beneath you.
There's the this close to the engine as it cycles each and every time. And she's leaned back on this small cot with her feet up on the nearby rim of the toilet, the sink just over her thigh, and is staring out of the window at the stars passing by, thinking back on what Regael had said, or Pax. She keeps correcting herself in her own head. Pax. She's not unaccustomed to people taking false names. She spent a little time on the road herself as a kid. It's not a surprise to keep one's identity in check, almost, not to be judged or not to be held accountable for family. But it's so complex all of a sudden. She's had all this time thinking that she was held in the bosom of the Neo-Dominion, held close to be forged into a weapon to one day ascend in importance to the point where she could demand her family back, and they would have no choice. And that road has suddenly collapsed. It's just fallen apart like a moon turned to vapor. She can't see a way out of this or a way forward. She can't see a world in which she can get her parents back and keep all of these people safe. And instead of feeling like she's in a prison and locked away inside this ship, it feels like she's protected on all sides inside this little constrained room. The artificial gravity is not great here. It's not meant to be. It's just not uncomfortable, but definitely not as good as the rest of the ship. But something about being inside these walls and hearing that it's oddly calming for her. And every single minute she's been down here, she's been tearing at little frays off the edge of this Neo-Dominion patch that she took off last episode. Just pulling the threads and letting them fall into her lap.
We pan back on this containment cell, and suddenly we pass through what looks like a screen. The image of Zasha sitting in the containment cell goes fuzzy and digital, and we pan up and out, and we see your face, Mora, looking at the security camera, seeing Zasha in the containment cell. You see her picking at that patch and seemingly lost in thought as she stares out at the stars. What are you doing, Mora, here on the bridge of the Okami?
Mora is staring almost through the security screen. Mora would speak with Threes, Pax, but Threes is what Mora would call you. Are you on the bridge with me? Or are you elsewhere? Would my voice reverberate off of walls or through an earpiece?
So from what I remember, the last thing that was said was for me to come see you. So I think at this point he'd be standing on the bridge with you.
Okay, then Mora says, "Tell me more about your homeworld, Threes."
And as like the security door kind of closes, Threes would say, like, move close and say, well, there's a lot that could be said about it. What specifically would you like to know?
Is there any central authority that would be upset with us jumping a massive cruiser into their space?
Yes. I think any of our systems would probably be a little upset if an unknown cruiser just popped into their system. But more
Define upset for me.
specifically, my homeworld, Infernus, is surrounded by an asteroid cluster. So jumping our ship in there could be a little dangerous, I think.
Matt, is this ship equipped with some sort of like shuttlecraft that we could take to the surface? We could use our mechs, of course.
Yeah, you could use your mechs, but I would say that there's a small shuttle that you can take down. There's like a lower piece, maybe sort of like an auxiliary bridge that can detach from the Okami and achieve atmospheric flight a lot easier than the main section would.
So as far as I can tell, we show up. Very deep orbit beyond the asteroid field that you're talking about. From there, you lead the fire team down to the planet. Planet, right? Not moon?
Yes, it's a planet.
I know nothing about your homeworld, Threes. I know nothing about you. I know nothing about your inheritance.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know nothing about myself. I don't even know what voice I'm using at any given moment. But in this moment, I would like for you to take command of this particular mission to your homeworld.
And Threes would smile and kind of look back at the door, almost to see if anybody was there, and then turn back and say, "You know, Commander, if I am going to be acting leader now, there is something I've been meaning to talk to you about. I know everybody on this team except for you, and the little bit of digging that I've done, I have questions, and I need to know that I can trust you. So, will you answer what I have to ask?"
I'd like to ask you a question first. What have I done so far that might allude to being non-trustworthy?
Well,
Or perhaps a compromised commander?
you don't have to do anything to be compromised. The best agents are those who are able to blend in, sow doubt within the community. In fact, you flipping it on me is something that I think a non-trustworthy ally would say.
Wait, flipping what? Command? I'm not giving you command of the whole ship. I'm just giving you command of a fire team.
Well,
All right, ask
ask
your question.
Commander.
He's irritated.
As acting commander of the fire team, I need to know that those who are serving under me, I can trust.
Well, you'll have to talk with them. And it looks like you only have 2 members because Zasha is apparently taking an early retirement. But you know that already, right?
Sir, when I looked you up, I only found 2 things. You were pretty much a ghost. I found that your mother was a wardess, some kind of high-ranking envoy named Liana, was killed in a mission. The only other thing I found was that apparently there are 2 Moras, which normally I would say is some kind of communication error, but these have completely separate records, making it seem like there are 2 completely different people.
Now, you do notice that Mora would be feeling... Oh, yeah. You do notice that Mora would be feeling like nervous at this conversation. But slightly confused at the 2 people. I don't think that Mora discovered that in an archive. I don't think that was part of the question that was answered. So, Mora... 2 of me? I mean, I
Yes.
appreciate the compliments. Calling someone a ghost is pretty much the raddest thing that could ever happen to any commander or any member of this fire team. But, and thank you again. Yeah, thank you for that. But what do you mean 2 of me?
And he would pull out one of his data pads and he would slide it over to you with the information on it. And he'd put his finger on it and say, you see, I've researched this to the extent that I can. But again, there it is. 2 Moras, 2 completely different documentations. I would say that you were twins with parents that ambitiously named you the same name. But again, you're never really mentioned in the same breath.
No, this must be a mistake. He scans the data pad and sees in his mind's eye, you see kind of zoom into his pupil and you see an explosion of a shuttle, an Envoy's shuttle outside of a Terran collective space station. And then very quickly after, another ship comes in and destroys the space station itself, and just all are obliterated. The only ship that made it out was the shuttle that Mora was on. And you see Mora holding this amulet, just kind of thumbing this amulet that's like melted on one side. And he says, the Neo-Dominion let me in. I wasn't born into it. Listen, let's go to your homeworld. Gather your team, get them ready, and brief them as to what's going to happen. You're in charge here. Once you get back, I'll answer any questions you have. Does that work?
Again, just one question. Can I trust you?
He takes off the amulet and he holds it by it's just kind of braided metal string, and he drops it into your hand if you'll take it. Get that back safely. It's very important to me.
And he slides it into his pocket and nods and goes off to grab the rest of them. Do we all have comms, by the way? I assume we all have like some kind of comm device. So I would just flick on the comms and just say, Rain, Vogue, we have a new mission. If you guys can meet me in the hangar, it'd be great. Apparently, I'm now the acting leader.
I just look over to Tulip and I say, how many leaders do we have?
With the rotation, maybe you'll be next.
Nope. Unlikely, but thank you. All right, I'll be there soon. Oh, by the way,
Captain.
The discovery that Tulip and I made in our shabu shabu feast with all of the like cool things lighting up, maybe providing new mods and or things that can upgrade the Paladin, the mechas. Have we revealed that to our
the Tinker system?
Yeah, the Tinker
I
system.
think it was called.
Yeah. Totally up to you if you've told everyone about the Tinker system yet, or if that's a surprise you want to lay on them.
Yeah, well, I say, well, if we're getting ready for a mission, I think that there's something that everybody should want to see. All the commanders, everybody should come. Everyone should come to the loading bays. There's some cool shit in here.
All right, well, that's where I'm heading anyway, so I guess I'll see you down there.
So you all head into the hangars. Again, each one is kind of its own separate little pod on these arms that sort of spin around the ship itself. But you're able to communicate with one another. Mora, are you suiting up for this mission?
No, Mora's going to stay on the ship and drop us in, and then let those 3 take care of it.
Okay, cool. There's on the bridge, there's a flicker, and Saxifrage appears in front of you and kind of is walking around the bridge. And she looks at you and says, I can chart us a course for Infernus. Fulcrum jump, if you wish.
Which one of the Paladins is best at charting courses? I imagine that would be like a systems check. Mora's pretty good at that. But if there were someone that could do that, no, not Rain.
I have a very high systems ability. So if there was somebody that you would trust with dealing with the bleeps and the bloops, it'd probably be Mattie.
Is there any way I can place that AI saxifrage into Mattie's Paladin?
Yeah, you can
Dare
move. You can. the data crystal itself can be moved anywhere, and each paladin has that little input for the data crystal. But you can also, if you want, basically give Mattie control of navigation on his data pad or whatever he's carrying wherever he is. Screen share with him.
I think that nice.
What's it called in IT where they like take over your computer? Remote control.
Remote.
As long as the screen has like VHS rainbow lines.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. It's
You
like
gotta
a
hit it on the
big
side.
chunky like analog Cowboy Bebop like situation where it's way too big.
No, Maddie's already far away, and it would be difficult to deliver this stone. So Mora just kind of looks a little bit irritated and disappointed that this false memory, maybe, perhaps, of Director Saxifrage remains on the bridge with him. So he'll just say, actually, he says, I direct. Yes, that would be just fine.
Very well. And there's a kind of beep, 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 and a bunch of coordinates start scrolling across the main sort of viewport, and this readout of this planet comes up, and the hologram appears in the middle of the bridge. And Mora, you see this this planet that is orbited by a dozen moons, just all of these moons orbiting around it. And beyond those moons, there's this this asteroid belt that Threes was telling you about. And the moon, or the planet itself, you see that there's like this huge chunk missing that's been replaced by this like lattice work of steel, almost like the planet itself has been mined out. And there are ships just like zooming. It's like this bustling, busy, you've never seen anything like it. It's like if the planet itself is just like a big busy factory just churning out resources for the entirety of Lodestar Alpha. And next to it you see Infernus, all this information about the size of it, the population, the biome, the current temperature, the atmosphere, the pressure, all that kind of stuff is all listed. And Saxifrage says, it will require 6 Fulcrum jumps to arrive at Infernus. The journey will take roughly 1 hour standard time. Muty boy.
Beep. Threes, come in.
Here.
There seems to be a massive hole in your home world. Is that where we're headed, or are we headed to the opposite side?
Yeah. Don't go to the hole. Like I said, and he'd think for a second and say, can our system actually jump inside the asteroid belt?
Saxifrage, the hologram, kind of like thinks for a second. We can try, but it will be difficult and risky.
That sounds like a lot of things that computer has to calculate there. I mean, I would prefer not to having a rock jumping into my body.
I think the computer systems combined with your skill, Mattie, will get us there.
Oh, shit.
The problem isn't just getting there. The Bastions, my family, if we still are in control of the system, we have a pretty good defense network set up all over inside the asteroid belt. if we happen to just jump in there, I don't want to test our defenses against my own system. I think it would be better if we positioned ourselves outside of an asteroid belt within range that I can get a message in. And then we can land on a safe rock.
You got 3. And I would look to the holograph director, and just nod.
She nods back to you. Initiating Fulcrum jump. Jumps will be spaced out 10 minutes. Prepare yourselves for the first. And the hologram fizzles out. There's this whirring, this winding up. And all of you start to feel this strange kind of tingling sensation that starts with your feet against the plating and going up into your head. And just as that strange tingling sensation reaches its sort of unpleasant point, there's this flash. You feel like you're being yanked forward, and then all of a sudden you're back to normal, sort of in real space, almost like the ship just lurched forward like 100 light years. First Fulcrum jump successful. Charging up for the second. 10 minutes.
All right, well, we got an hour to work things out, come up with a plan, so same thing as before. I guess let's just meet in the hangar. And Breeze would continue on his way, I guess.
Yep, 3 as you go up the lift, and you find yourself in the hangar where Vogue and Rain have just finished their feast of noodles. There's like ramen cups kind of floating in the low gravity as you step off the lift.
I feel like there'd be like a flicker of annoyance that would go through his head. Is like, I feel like this is probably something that we've all like, or that you guys have done before, but like in his head, it's like, is like the most expensive, deadly machines, and they're using it to cook food.
Yeah. I think as Tulip Cho would have been the first to activate it, you would also walk into the probably beginning noises, whirs, and like kind of the sounds of gears whirring and electrical equipment alive and at work as the Tinker system is like hissing and churning away on the mech that is Paladin Rain. The giant machine seems to be like semi-enclosed in what looks to be this big metallic cocoon with lights and arms, just kind of buzzing away inside, but it's all noise from the outside and lights, like little flickers of sparks and fire.
I feel like he would like be walking briskly, then immediately slow to a stop looking at it, and then just like have that moment of it can't possibly get weirder and just keep going. So I'm guessing that this ship comes with automated maintenance. Is that what I'm looking at?
Tulip would actually be like on top of like several boxes, kind of balancing awkwardly as she's trying to peek in between like the opening in this massive cocoon to kind of see what's going on. She's got big industrial earmuffs on, kind of canceling most sound, as it is quite noisy the closer you get to it. But I mean, the rhetorical question hangs in the air.
Is Mattie still sitting on top of their thing?
Mattie, no, at this point, I think Mattie is taking a vested interest in the workings of this Tinker system. He would say we were doing a very thorough sweep of all the systems in the ship, and we found we found this, and he says I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it seems like it should be pretty reliable for us. I mean, that we could possibly get it to once it's done with Rain over here, we can definitely get it working on all the mechs, and might give us that little bit of edge we need for whatever we're running into out there.
And he'd nod and he'd say, honestly, this does reduce cost a lot. We won't need a giant crew of maintenance people if the ship can do it all itself, especially if we don't need them to upgrade it as well. Does it have any limitations, do you know?
Do I know? Matt? Oh, you are muted.
Muted. Who does that?
Beyond just the speed at which it can work, there doesn't seem to be any sort of limitation to it, and it works pretty quickly. It certainly works faster than just humans would trying to make these modifications and repairs.
No, this thing is top of the line. It is fast, and it is. It's scary fast. So I think that myself and Tulip should be able to keep an eye on the maintenance of the thing itself. So that's definitely one part of the crew that we probably won't need to take care of. A couple of hands around here wouldn't hurt when we do have the resources, but I think that this thing will come in real handy.
And obviously the Tinker system itself is pretty much geared exclusively for the mechs. It won't be able to make repairs on the ship. So yeah,
right. It's more internal stuff, non mecha problems that we'll need a crew for.
And he'd look at our everybody's mech, and he'd say it's probably for the best. The less people we have putting their hands on these things, probably the better. Plus, there's probably a lot of people that actually know how to repair this ship, not a lot that actually know what goes on inside those mechs.
Absolutely. So, do you have any specifications, things you want to try out for your suit?
Yeah, but I figured I'd leave much of that probably to you guys once we talk about what we're actually going to do. So it looks like we're going on a 3-person mission down to Infernus. The objective is to, at the moment, the objective is to dethrone potentially my own family. We don't have much information about what's going on down there, but once we get closer, that'll be the first part of our mission, information gathering. Figure out what's actually going on.
All right, well, I can help with the first part, definitely. Assuming that it should be easy to get Vogue through through some sensors with the camouflage and with the cloak drive. So that I can possibly do a little bit of infiltration for you, and I'll try to make sure that the comms are open between us. So anything else that you need from me?
Well, have you had any time to look at that data pad I gave you?
And this is the data pad regarding I remember the data pad regarding the ship. Which data pad in particular is this?
It was the one that had scraps of information about Tulip's grandmother.
Scraps of information about Tulip's grandmother. I do not know if I had the time to make the systems check or whatnot to maybe go through the data, but I'm glad to. I've had a bit of time on the ship, so.
Yeah, I'd say that you probably have enough downtime since you got on the ship and leading up here to the mission that you could sort through some of it and try to ascertain some new things if you wanted to.
He says, well, now that all of this we seem to have an understanding of this for the most part. Tulip's working on Rain, and we'll get to working on specifications for these other suits. Here, by the way, if you're going to go about the ship, I have a feeling that you're going to want this. Here are he pulls out some other data, like pads or something, and he says, "This is stuff about. This is basically everything we found out. If Zasha wants to read it, and has any specifications she'd like us to make while she's waiting, because even though she's in her cell, the suit's out here. So, but I'm not going to touch it without her saying anything, because I know that could be bad news. So just let me know, and I'll get looking on this data, and I will let you know right away as soon as I find something. Okay?
Yeah. And he would take the data pad and slide it in his pocket. But before we adjourn, I just want to quickly go over some information about what we might be getting into. I haven't had much information with my homeworld since I stopped being me. And we all trained together, obviously, for a few years now. Complete isolation, so I am not completely sure about what's going on. But if they haven't changed too much, we should be going to the right place. So I just want to make sure everybody is up to speed about what could potentially be a suicide run into one of the most dangerous places in the Empire.
Well, we'll do everything we can to make sure that it's not a suicide run. That's Tulip and I will do our best to make sure of that. And for you, I mean, also if you want to, if it'll be easier for you to get through into your home world, I mean, you can come with me. I do have a trick up my sleeve to at least keep you off the sensors for a little bit. I know you like to do things from a little bit farther away, but I don't know how personally you want to handle all this. Because I'm glad to go in ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Because I know that you guys have my back if something goes wrong.
I'm thinking that the best way to do this might be to go head in. So I'm probably going to go in myself with Tulip. But I think having you there as assurance, being our shadow, would probably make us all feel a little bit more comfortable. Should things go sideways, having a giant mech as your background might help out.
Is there any special place systems, where anything is located in which maybe I can get to their systems first, maybe make us all invisible, maybe lower their defenses? Are you aware of any place like that on your world?
Well, where I plan to take us is the Wild Cluster, which is on the outskirts of my system itself. There, we'll find one of the hollowed out asteroids, which is, if things haven't gotten so bad that every single asteroid that's been hollowed out has been identified and discovered and co-opted, at least a few that I know of should be Bastion militia. And if they're friendlies, they'll allow us in, and we can find safe passage through the asteroid belt. If every single one of them has been taken over, then we'll kind of have to push our way through an asteroid belt, which is going to be very difficult.
Okay.
So for this particular thing, I think it is important that I do not go in my mech. I'm probably just going to take a shuttle down there, sign of friends. But again, you going as our shadow is definitely going to be important.
All right, sounds good. I'll get on this, and I think this is going to be a good new start for all of us. So, good luck.
Yep, or a very short story. And he'd walk off to go give Zasha her data pad.
Down in the brig, Zasha, you're sitting there, and your sort of reverie is broken by a voice. What are you doing sitting down here, Zasha?
Zasha kind of looks over to the door, expecting to see a face peering in after all these years, and then kind of remembers that there probably won't be one. and instead just looks up at the ceiling, anime as hell, and says, I don't really know. I don't know what I can do. I was hoping to leave it in the commander's hands, but I don't know. We have so many. Any one of the commanders. I don't know.
Mora trusts you to make the decision. Because you made the decision to come down here, that is the decision that stays. It is not Mora's job to second guess.
If we come into the crosshairs of the Neo Dominion, it would just... And she's like looking down, and as she does, she's like almost curling up, like she wants to fall into a fetal position. I can't have their blood on my hands too. Not my family, not my team. I don't know what to do.
A flickering blue hand lays on your shoulder, and though you don't feel any weight, there's still this sensation of you're not alone here. And Saxifrage says, whether you like it or not, you all are in the crosshairs of the Neo Dominion. You have been from the start. Zasha, your family is in danger. But you cannot help them sitting down here.
She has that moment where she reaches to put her hand on the hand and it goes through. And then she lifts it up ever so slightly for the illusion out of the corner of her eye that it's resting on that hand. Saxifrage was the closest thing that she's had to parents since hers were taken. And she nods, swallows, says, all right. If we move fast enough, if we get out in front of the threat, maybe we can find leverage. That'll have to be it. She stands and takes another deep breath and dusts all these strands of fabric and thread that was the Neo Dominion patch that's been kind of picked and pulled apart over the past couple hours. Just brushes it off into the floor and doesn't really take in the symbolism at first, but when she picks off that last thread and lets it go, it's like she's letting go of that dream of being some Neo Dominion hero and getting justice, realizing that she's going to have to find it herself and make it right, not make it just. She lets that thread go. And if timing is perfect, as it should be in tight anime, Threes would step up to the door and open the little slot.
Yep, and as he does so, the hologram of Saxifrage just nods to you and then fizzles out and is soon replaced by the silhouette of Threes.
Zasha, how's the jump?
She nods. It was a little rocky down here. How many more?
I think 5 or something.
She kind of calculates how fast the thrumming has been increasing to charge back up, nods, and says, then maybe that will give me time to fix my mech. I think my vacation down here may be over. If you can open the door, anyway.
And Threes will just look at the camera, remembering when you tried to open the door the last time. And
You
just
look
be
at the
like,
blast doors.
Yeah. Commander, I could use a fourth for my fire team.
Mora's distracted by the data pad and the information that he's searching for on it, but he snaps out of it. Does Zasha have a communicator? Then that's Mora will ask that into the communicator.
I was gonna say, we never stripped her of anything. She's still in a spacesuit all these
Yep.
hours later.
Well, I've got your sidearm,
Mm-hmm.
says Mora. He beep, 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 boop, boop. The doors open to the cell, and he says, "Before you go, I need to see you up here on the bridge, Zasha."
She kind of picks up this communicator that I'm imagining is on the gauntlet part of the spacesuit that she took off so she could use her hands. And she holds it in front of her face, and it just has your name and the little bar of your voice as it goes by. And she sees those little stutter steps where you start to talk and stop, and is like looking at this line as it goes by. And when you finally say that you need to see it and the door opens, she says, "Roger that, Commander. On my way."
And before you leave, he would give you the data pad and say, "Well, while you're walking, take a look at that. Mattie put it together, saw the information on your mech. Definitely make me feel a lot better that you're here."
She kind of squares up. I'm not imagining she's as tall as you. She's a pretty petite individual. But she squares up with you, like shoulders back and head up, like she's going to snap out a salute or something. And she says, "It's glad to have you here too," and gives that nodding look towards the idea she also used to stare at your mask, and now she's looking you square in the eyes. "Pax, I'll see you in the hangar bay. Thank you." And then she stops without looking back, and you see the silhouette of her face, and she says, "Thank you." Clap, 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 clap. She walks off.
I think he would like stay there for like a quick second. Like, I feel like hearing his name, like Pax, everybody calling him that, would like not fully sit well with him yet. Like the idea that like that mask was like his protection against like a lot of the things that he's done, but also like now he's going back to his home world. He would just sit there for a moment and just drink in all that's about to happen, and the fact that he's going to have to not only confront a lot of the things that he's done, but go back home. And he is terrified of what he's about to find when he gets there. But take a breath and then start walking after a while.
Mora, you're on the bridge when the doors open and Zasha is standing there.
Immediately, Mora stands up, walks over to Zasha, hands her a data pad, and says, "Plug in the information of where your parents are." Then the second thing he hands Zasha is the sidearm that Zasha turned in just the evening before. And I think it's been an evening, right? It could have been, time may have passed, but whatever time passed, he hands it back to her. Okay. Nice.
Can you
Nice.
imagine?
Yep. It's
It's
the
been
skeletal
84 years.
The skeletal malnourished frame of Zasha stands before Mora and keeling over and crumbling into a skeleton. No, he hands over the sidearm and he says, "The next time you hand me this, it better be because it needs to be reloaded."
There's the moment where she's looking at the data pad and she's got them stacked together. And then she lowers the data pad and sees the sidearm in your hand underneath it. And then it cuts to her looking at your face. And you say that, and she nods. And she says, maybe it was a misstep. At least it didn't take long. I'll be in the hangar bay if you need me. Thank you, Commander. She takes the gun and whips it back into the holster and snaps out a crisp salute and turns and says, even if we're not part of the Dominion, and kind of smiles. Some things we should probably keep.
He nods, and you see a smile cross his face, just very briefly, as he thinks just to himself that and you actually hear his thoughts because it's anime and that's allowed. You hear his thoughts as he says, in his mind, I think maybe technically we're our own country now. Our own nation. Our own dominion. He salutes back. It's more sloppy than yours. And he turns back to the bridge.
I do think that while Mattie is going through this data, and he's just kind of sitting there with Tulip, who's still probably looking at the wonders of her grandmother worked on and designed. He has he's in front of a big chunky keyboard typing away, and he would say, kind of not even looking at her, he would say, "So, your grandma in Saxifrage."
What? she
mean-
looks she just somehow heard that, despite the noise cancellation, just on the frequency enough to turn her head, and she just tilts the one headphone up on the side of her head and says, "Say that again."
Well, I mean, you saw how Saxifrage's ghost or whatever was talking about Nan, right? I mean, they were more than just friends.
I don't know what you're trying to say, Mattie, but I know you're mad at me because I knocked over the noodles and stuff earlier, but the reality is there's some pretty crazy stuff going on right now, and I don't really want to talk about that.
There is nothing
Throws
wrong
a
with
wrench.
two mature women finding love in the middle of space, even if it is Saxifrage, who is a very, very, very mature woman, and I don't know what Nan would have seen in her. That's very strange to me, but still.
And she's now she's biting a wrench to grit her teeth, and she just grits probably too quiet to be heard, but through the gritted metal. I'm not gonna call her mom, okay, or grandmom or whatever. This is weird. Yeah, Graham. She spits out the wrench. Wouldn't be the first time.
Listen,
I met
sorry. Go
one
ahead.
of Grand's.
Oh, well, that's really exciting. I feel like I'm getting to know more about Nan every day, but just surprised that the director had a heart is all, and he just continues working.
All that matters is they both put a lot, whatever you're talking about, into this ship. You can see it everywhere. This is all pretty amazing, Mattie. They built this for us. Can't you see it? I don't even know what's going on under there, but there's a plan. And she touches on the cocoon, and it's hot. The metal is almost glowing orange, and then she pulls her hand back and just kisses the burnt fingertip, and just says, "There's something happening here, and it's probably happening to you too. Have you even looked at Paladin Vogue since all this started? Check it out." And she points down the hallway, down towards the whirring noises inside of Paladin Vogue, the Paladin Vogue hangar. Obviously not visible from my hangar, but just she can hear it because we're best friends. Our hangars are beside each other.
Of course. And he says, he stops typing at that moment. He looks at you and he says, I recognize that there are people that put a lot of work into this, and my whole life has been defined by people putting a lot of work into their expectations for me, and me not getting to decide what or say what I want. I mean, this is now what I've inherited, and I'm stuck with the family that I've got, and I'm stuck with the director. She won't even die and leave me alone. And I've just never had a choice, Tulip. But I'm glad I got to choose you as my family, Tulip.
And you hear the soft tap of the her boots against the hangar floor as she jumped down, but actually, like, as someone trained in 0G, paced herself so that she didn't land aggressively beside you. A soft rain falls as Tulip lands close to you and just quietly beside you gives a hug around Mattie, and she's small, so she's like doing the Frodo to Gandalf as she kind of pulls back and says, "That's what I'm talking about." And I know you didn't choose this, Mattie. Not until this point, but I'm glad you chose us. And I don't think I would make it through without someone like you. Everyone else out there, they're all spiky and hard. They've got an edge to them. Well, you can tell I'm different. But together, you and I, we've shown a strength that they haven't seen before. We're the glue. And that's how all this sticks together, right?
Oh God, I hope not. This is really expensive technology.
Well, you're the engineer.
Okay, well, as he pulls out a big roll of duct tape from his pack. It's true. Oh, Zasha. As we're sort of mid-embrace, do you want to get in on this? Sort of after prison get together? Come on.
I'm imagining that the two of you are having this intense, raptured conversation, and in the background, she's like going back and forth doing shit in the hangar, and like, yeah, because her mech was the only one that got royally fucked up in that last fight, and she's just like buzz, and then you finally notice, and she's got this data pad in front of her, selecting out like components and modules and stuff that the ship has, looking through the inventory, and she says, "Even the mightiest rock will crush under pressure. I had a little too much pressure with that realization."
Yeah, I mean, we all need a break. But I'm glad you're with us, because I don't know what you heard, what Tulip said, but as much as I like being soft and cuddly, we do need hard and spiky things. So please,
yes, spiky and heart. I heard.
Yes, it was poetry. I loved it. But I do need I'm not going to survive out there on my own. So glad you had your moment. If you ever want to talk, glad to help you. Want a hug?
I'm all right.
Yeah, hug.
Come on.
I'm okay.
It's like
okay,
the two-person hug.
Yeah, just like
Her hand drifts to her sidearm.
All right,
Drifts
no,
back
it's
away.
fine. Absolutely. Nope, you just need time.
Glue can be too sticky to some people, And she's like got the little panel walking back around. Have you looked at these modules yet?
There's some exciting stuff. And they seem to there's some cool some cool things that this stuff can do. I mean, stuff that we never even like had the options of in the beginning in our training.
Are we currently wearing mag boots?
Yes, you all have mag boots so that you can lock yourselves to the deck when you want to.
So she goes up to a panel and beep, 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 and puts her finger on a slider and said, "Mags," and clicks her heels down to lock her boots and waits for you two to do so as well.
Yeah, Tulip would say the same. Mags.
When you do, she kind of slides it down to drop the gravity pretty low. Not that something will float all the way to the ceiling, but low enough that there's 5-6 kilo instead of 500. And she kind of goes over, and it might be the first time that the two of you really have looked at her mech, but all of the paint on the side where she holds that cannon is blistered and melted off. The cannon itself is warped and completely fucked. And she looks like she has quite a bit of work to do, but she starts picking up these huge pieces in this hangar bay. Since the gravity is turned so low, just kind of positioning them where they need to be on her own and clambering up the side to weld the ship back in.
Zasha, let me help you.
She says, Fine.
I won't make any design choices.
I
I'm
only
gonna
have
leave it
5 jumps left. Fine.
It's gonna be just as rustic as you like it, but let me just make sure that everything fits in place just exactly how it should. Okay.
She says, "I need to make room for the Comijo AT-10 energy module."
Oh.
And she shows you on the little data pad that there's one in stock. She says, "I think it will work nicely. I ran out of power last time."
I thought you'd like that. All right. And he gets working, and he'll fix Neon, and he'll.
And we do repairs.
And we get everything nice and situated.
Yeah, there's a very like montage of everyone like welding shit, and it's like like riveting things and new paint jobs and everything. It like cuts to Mora. Mora's on the bridge with like 18 data pads and like pointing at things, and there's a hedgehog next to him. All of this happens, and
hologram red threads going across the room.
Yeah. Saxifrage appears on the bridge to you, Mora, and says, "We are about to initiate the final jump. We will be entering Infernus airspace in 3, 2, 1. Again, that and Mora, as you recover from the 6th jump in an hour, which leaves you feeling fairly queasy, you look up through the canopy of the bridge, and you see this sprawling asteroid field. You see moons in the distance, and you see the world of Infernus looming, this huge chunk carved out of it with this like lattice work holding it together. And right before all of the klaxons start going off, you notice 30, 35, 40 Neo-Dominion cruisers surrounding Infernus. A blockade. And then the klaxons start going off. We're going to take a quick break, let everyone go to the bathroom, and then we'll see what happens next. Stick around. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll be right back.
Don't cut off your cameras, just cover them.
Session. I just get hungry for noodles. All right, we're back, everybody. Hello. We're going to continue the game. So, Mora, you see all of these ships, and they appear as blips on the scanner. Klaxons begin going off as you enter into range. Luckily, your ship is small and has not been targeted by them yet. And you have the advantage of having a huge field of debris between you and them. What do you want to do?
Immediately, Mora goes for the kill switch to kill power, just in case any of these ships start scanning us. So all power all non-essential power outside the Paladin suits is going to be cut instantly, and that. And actually, right before he hits the kill switch, Mora is going to say, "My communications are going out. Threes, you're in charge." And then he'll flip the kill switch, and I don't even think Threes can communicate with me anymore.
I think Threes would probably be on the deck with you as we're like coming in to see what the homeworld looks like.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were all in the hangar. Okay, sure. Then Mora will turn to you and say, "You're in charge," and then we'll turn back, hit the kill switch, and is still going to stay on the ship just in case it needs to go someplace, or actually Mora might even say to you, Threes, "Let me know if you need a hole," because Mora was surely not expecting all of this blockade here, and perhaps the Okami could create an opening in the defenses.
Yeah. So at the distance that we're at, I don't know if we have a way of doing this, but like, would there be any way to like immediately recognize what like house or like unit or like who these people are that are blockading? Like, obviously they're from the Neo Dominion, but like, who specifically are they from in the Neo Dominion?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that before Mora cut out the non-essential systems, you did get a good look at these ships, and there's kind of a fuzzy hologram that pops up. You see this large cruiser just bristling with guns. You can see the hangars on either side where Mecha would come streaming out. And on the side of these Neo-Dominion ships, you see a familiar emblem, Threes. You see that shield, the emblem of House Bastion, emblazoned on the side of these cruisers. But there's something slightly different about it. This is not the emblem of the Bastions that you knew. This is something else, something different.
Yeah, so Threes would kind of like, and then the power just shuts off, and he would just have that ghost of an image like burned into his mind as he's looking, trying to, out of all the scenarios that could have played out, his own people blockading this his homeworld is not what he thought would happen. So based on we have there's a blockade happening in front of us. Are there any ships coming and going? Like, is there any like pathway of like any like maybe cargo ships leaving or coming, or is it just completely shut off?
So it's hard to tell from this distance, and because you don't have long range scanners, you can't exactly pinpoint where this would be happening. But Threes, you know that because Infernus is the source of so many resources for the rest of Lodestar Alpha, whether it be the lode steel that comes out of their mines, the food that comes out of their farms, there has to be a way to get in and out, because otherwise people wouldn't be eating, Mecha wouldn't be getting built, cruisers wouldn't be getting built. The blockade is here likely because of these resources.
So looking at this situation, he would turn to the commander and he'd say, this is not right. We're gonna need to figure out a way in. If there's a blockade and there's no entrance, things have gotten a lot worse than I thought. If there is an entrance, then we might be able to work with this. I'm gonna go see what the guys downstairs can say. And he'd start heading downstairs to the hangar.
You get into the hangar. What are they all doing?
Just doing I'm doing the final touches on. I'd say at this point I'm probably the final touches on my Mac. Just making sure that everything is squeaky clean and ready to go. He's actually right now calibrating the color cells inside of the armor, so you see it's kind of like doing just like someone looks like a discotheque. There's just all these like different lights flashing and just doing these different effects right now on the face of the mech. And then he sees you and he says, "Oh, we ready to go? I think we're all set here. Everything's already brand spanking new and ready to blow some shit up."
I imagine the hangar with no power is like weirdly quiet, and Neon is sitting inside her mech, scrolling on this data pad strapped to her leg so it doesn't float away, doing a checklist. And like that's the only sound kind of echoing around other than switches and stuff being flipped. So like ammunition and armament system, check. Shield and additional plating, check. As you come down the stairs.
Tulip, as you come down the stairs and you're passing Tulip's hangar, or at least the opening to her hangar, you wouldn't see much at all because the this kind of cocoon, this engineering cocoon that was part of the ship, has started to pull away back into the walls, and there's a loud hissing as the room is filled with like a chemical smoke sanitizing the changes to the machine, and kind of cooling the metal with gases. And you wouldn't be able to see Tulip much at all. You would just hear, "Oh man, you guys should see this. This is pretty crazy." But she says, "Never mind, I'm climbing in it." And she starts to crawl up the side of the legs, and that's all you'd hear through the smoke as you passed Threes.
Threes would come in and say, "Yeah, Mattie, we have a situation. I think we're gonna have to need you to go out and scout, get us some information. The commander shut down all of our electronics. There's an entire blockade out there that we don't want redirected at us."
All right. I'll gladly go out there, see what we can is the entire system is shut down. All
There's a
surrounding the entire.
blockade around the system, which immediately means there's obviously bad things. The system is being blockaded by what I think is my own troops, which could mean one of two different situations. Either there wasn't a rebellion and our troops are blocking exports from getting to the Empire, which means we have come at the very wrong time of an Empire coming to destroy the rest of my troops and making things go back to normal, or somebody is trying to control the imports and exports of my system, which means that there is an intense amount of instability within the system itself.
So
I'm hoping for the latter.
So it's Neo Dominion that are blockading us right now. We need to send a message to your homeworld that the prince has returned.
Yes, well, the message might be a lot easier to send if the people of my homeworld are not the ones that are blockading the system.
I will find out what I can. Now,
Yeah.
you think it's? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll go down there. I'll try to keep a communications open with you as best as I can through their field. And in the meantime, if we need to get through that blockade, maybe I can distract them, maybe pull them away from this particular sector. That way you can all punch through without the ship, but might be a little bit too big. But the suits can probably make it just fine.
Personally, I'd rather none of us get captured as soon as we get here, especially when we don't have any information.
I won't get captured.
Fair enough. But right now, we just need information. If you can get there and figure out if there is any point of egress, a point where ships are coming and going, we can start from there.
I'm on it. And he is going to do the last little bit of a light show on his mech, and he is going to unplug the little cords that wrap up into the body of the suit. He puts the data pad away. He goes into the mech, into the chest, and he there's one last little bit of calibration as it turns on, and all of a sudden it goes from the shimmering lights into its sort of base color, which is just purple. This purple, curvy, almost feminine, almost like Neolithic fertility goddess shape of this mech that is all just like interconnecting curved plates that are all very well sheared, and they just interlock together smoothly. And it is purple, a brilliant purple with golden accents. And there is unfortunately something that he has not gotten around to, though you do see that there is you do see that there is now a Paladin's crest, which is now shinier, but there is still the crest of House Jai, which is this purple shield with a golden obelisk on it. And he says, Vogue, ready for launch.
Up on the bridge, Saxifrage in hologram form looks to you, Mora. Paladin Vogue is ready to depart. Initiate catapult launch.
Flips switches, presses some buttons. Affirmative.
Initiating launch. And outside, the hangar pods swivel. And 1 minute, Mattie, you're sitting in the cockpit looking at the doors of the hangar. And then there's this rush as the catapult lurches forward, and the the doors open for an instant, and you are hurtled out of the ship, this streak of light, as you're fired out of the hangar, almost like a missile, out into open space. And as you're sort of like pressed back against the seat of your mech, you see in your rear camera, you see the Okami just get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, just like rapidly disappearing into the blackness of space. And you see this asteroid field rushing up to meet you. Go ahead and give me a mobility test if you would.
That's a 1.
Beautiful. What does it look like as you expertly sort of maneuver and find concealment within the debris field?
What it looks like is, so there's the moment where I feel that I can now, as from the launch, I can finally start to take control. I'm going to first things first. I'm going to turn on my my cloak as I get closer to the field, and my drive is fine. I do not take any damage there. So all of a sudden he becomes he becomes nothing. He is invisible in the void, and but for those who can maybe see the shimmering outline for the benefit of the viewers at home, he is as he begins to come out of the launch sequence, he sort of tucks and rolls and kind of turns this curvy mech into like a cannonball shape as he spins through using some thrusters to help with the actual spinning out here in space. And he spins, and then as he gets a good amount of velocity, he's going to come out of that, and he sees there's a small asteroid. He kind of like skates on that a little bit and then jumps from it, making it sort of bump into another asteroid. There's a big asteroid that comes in front of him, so he just does sort of using his like little boosters. He jumps and leaps over it. He's basically almost parkouring through this asteroid field, using more of the trying to limit any of his thrusters or anything like that. He's trying to use more of the momentum of pushing off or springing off of these elements, or using them to knock into him as he is sort of Newton's cradling his way through the asteroid belt. And when he finally finds a place that looks secure, just outside the reach of maybe when he starts to see Neo Dominion, he's just going to tuck, roll, and 3-point land in a big crater.
Awesome. So on the bridge, anyone who's on the bridge would just see this streak of light as Vogue is catapulted out of the Okami, and then there's the thrusters kick in, and you see these like flashes as Vogue maneuvers and then just like disappears into the asteroid field, completely invisible. And there's just this like silence. You just hear the hum of, the non-essential systems running in the ship, and you just all have to sit and wait and hope that Mattie's okay. Vogue, on the asteroid, you get your bearing and kind of look around. You see the distant glimmer of these steel behemoths, these cruisers of the Neo Dominion, and soon enough, as you're sitting there kind of watching, just observing, maybe even scanning a little bit, you see a pair of Neo Dominion Mecha, these knights, each of them carrying a shield and these long sort of energy spear weapons. They're sort of boosting through the asteroid field, running a sortie through the asteroid, just scanning and scouting. The pair of them come to land on an asteroid that's maybe far distance from you. You still see them on your visual scanners, and they're kind of standing there looking around. And all of a sudden, this explosion goes off near one of them, and then a second and a third. Someone is firing upon them. Through your hull, you feel the reverberations of a cannon going off. Boom, boom, boom. And soon enough, these mecha appear from behind an asteroid. And though they look similar to the mecha that are being fired upon, they're painted differently. They're emblazoned with different symbols. And over the open comms channel, you hear, "For the true rulers of Infernus! For the Bastions!" And these Neo Knights come charging forward and like just start stabbing into these other mechs with bladed weapons. One of them like kicks one of them off the asteroid, and there's this like intense skirmish that happens in front of you. And by the time you realize what's even happening, it's over. Both of these Neo Mecha are completely destroyed, and the ones that attacked them sort of very quickly scavenge what they can, grab what's usable, and then make to disappear again behind these asteroids.
This is exactly the kind of fights that Mattie likes to be in. Ones in which much more capable and stronger people fight them for him. So he's going to, but that being said, I mean, there's good news, obviously, from that. But he needs to make sure that he has a better lay of the land and that he can contact these people without getting blasted or getting more Neo-Dominion attention. So he's going to do his best to basically track them back to wherever they're going, and hope to make contact there. If he can. Now, did we say if there is a possibility of sending communications back to the ship, or?
Yeah, let's say that you can basically send text, and that's it. You can send text, and it has to be short, and it'll just get to the ship when it gets there.
All right. He's gonna say, they call themselves the Knights of something, or no? They called themselves they just screamed Bastion.
Yeah, they said for the true rulers of Infernus, for the Bastions.
All right. He's going to write. Bastion. I'm going to say threes. They're waiting for you. Stand by. And I'm just going to follow them.
Go ahead and give me a system test. As you do that, back on the bridge. Commander, we are receiving a message from Paladin Vogue. I will display it, and you see the text that Vogue just wrote up here.
Tell Vogue to make a call.
Make a call. Is that the message you want to send?
Affirmative.
Okay. As you start tracking these, you get a text, Mattie, and you see on your little HUD from the commander, make the call.
Send another text. And I say, finding the door, wait for the bell.
Say that again. All I heard was wait for the bell.
Finding the door. Wait for the bell.
What'd you get on your system, Mattie?
That was a success.
Okay.
Yeah.
You follow these mecha through the asteroid field. They move quickly and nimbly for mecha of their size. There's 4 of them. You count total, each of them wielding both melee and ranged weapons. The ranged weapons are these strange, they almost look like crossbows, but you can see that they fire out energy, and each of them has one of these on their back. They all head toward this downed cruiser, this derelict cruiser that's floating motionless in the asteroid field, and there's scattered debris all around it. All of them enter in the side of this derelict cruiser, through a hangar, and disappear inside of it.
I sneak in.
All right.
I just float in invisible, and yep.
You float into the hangar, invisible, and you can see that inside the hangar, the energy field is active and there's atmosphere. The 4 mechs set down and their cockpits open up, and the pilots emerge. Out of one of them comes this huge man, this huge burly man, and as he takes off his helmet, you can see that he has this long beard that is braided, and he has this long, just glorious mane of hair, and he kind of whips his hair in the low gravity to get it away from his face. And he kind of pounds his chest to the other pilots, and they all do the same to him. And you can see the emblem on his flight suit is the same one that appeared on the bridge of the Okami, the true emblem of House Bastion. And they all kind of descend in the low gravity and head towards the deeper parts of the ship.
I send a text, and I say, "Give me visuals. Give me what's the cool space way to say camera? Give me
Eyes.
Yeah, give me eyes. Give me eyes on the bridge."
And I think I'll say a cuss word or something like bloody gosh.
And as these guys are all leaving their I'm gonna write pointed towards 3s. And as these guys are leaving, I turn on my suit using the color cells, and I project 3's whole face onto my mech.
This pilot, this huge burly man, turns as the mech appears, and his eyes are wide, and you see his face. He's terrified but angry as well, and he's about to order your mech to just get shot to hell. And then you project this image, and he kind of goes slack-jawed. He lets go of his helmet. It starts floating away in the low gravity. Prince Pax, you're alive. And on the bridge, 3's, this is your uncle. This is Trento Bastion.
And Pax would probably take longer than is polite to respond, but he would eventually say, "Uncle Trento, it's good to know that you're still alive as well."
Barely. Where are you?
Well, sitting outside of a Bastion blockade.
Your cousin's doing. Have you come to unseat him, finally?
Yeah. Sorry it took me so long.
Better late than never.
Do you have us a way to get in without us having to blow a hole in this blockade?
I don't. But blowing a hole should work just fine.
All right.
There's a voice that comes out of the comes up from the face of Threes that is not Threes' is not Pax's voice at all. Says, "Say, how many systems are left on this ship? This defunct cruiser here."
She won't fly, if that's what you're asking.
Could she be pushed?
Anything can be pushed. What do you have in mind?
Well, let's just say that we have a ship waiting for you, so you won't need this one anymore.
Sounds good to me. You have room for 12?
Yes?
Room for 12 Mecha?
Oh, well, the Mecha is another thing, but the people can stay. Listen, we're gonna get your planet back, so don't worry about that. Just
Mattie, I think I might have an idea. Hey, Trento, my cousin hasn't found all of the bases, has he? The outposts in the wild. There has to be at least one that's still fresh, right?
If there are, we haven't had contact with them.
If we blast our way through, we're gonna need a place to go. Is this the best place?
It's the only place for now.
they're going to want to. We can get through the blockade, but once they've cleared up what they can, they're going to start coming after us. We should find a place on your world that can take a fight. It's no use taking back your planet if the whole thing is burnt away.
They wouldn't risk it. If we can make it past the blockade, we should be safe. Going down to the planet is risky, especially if they want to start bombarding there. Nothing but farms and academies there. It's not really a military stronghold.
The Neos wouldn't risk the planet. It's too valuable.
Yeah. If we can make it into the mining zone, it would make it extremely risky for them to maneuver into it. How's their hold in the mining zone?
Firm, but they have to keep the blockade loose in order to let the cargo ships through. It's definitely a weak point.
Alright. We're gonna need help. Do we know anybody in any of the bases? Any of the asteroid outposts? Anybody?
I wish I could say that we had more of us, but I don't know for sure. I know there are pockets of resistance. If we fight, they'll come. You still have support here, Prince Pax. The Loyalists, they will fight for you.
If we create a problem that draws away the few people they have over at the mining sector, say a big explosion, some kind of catastrophe somewhere that they have to pull resources, that'll give us just enough of a hole to push through. And if we do have to fight, which we probably will, that's the time for everyone to see you, Pax. No more masks, no more hiding.
Yeah. The diversion might work, but we're working with very limited resources. Wasting any resource might not be a good idea. But a diversion, something that'll make them move or shift their position in the blockade, could definitely work. And we have a ship that can punch a hole through one of those monsters with a mega laser. and a ship that can jump. If we take our mechs out and position ourselves and maybe have the commander make a hole, maybe we can get in without them even knowing that we were here and without risking our escape if it comes to that.
You're saying you want to salvage this thing? He points the mech around to the ship that you're inside right now.
Salvage is not the right word. Right now, it's the only place that can hold what forces we have. I'm thinking what we need is a place to be able to get the word out and the ability to see what we have to work with. We can't do that from our ship since we're going dark. If we want to stay silent, well, we can't do much. We have to go live at some point. Why not as a diversion?
There's a ComSat station in orbit around Infernus. If you can take that, you can get a broadcast out all across the system. Everyone will hear. And, my prince, if you need a distraction, please allow me and my soldiers to undertake that task. We have 12 Mecha ready to fly.
I can get to the comm station.
How many people are at the comm station? Do you have any information on that?
Unsure, but it'll be heavily guarded.
I'll be fine. You just need to put on a good show for your people. I'll get out.
Okay.
I'll be okay.
And he looks at the commander and says, how much of a hole do you think we need to make for them to pull people from the comm station?
At this point, I'm worried more about navigating this massive ship through this asteroid field. But he thinks
Well,
for a moment.
Thinking that might not be a problem if we just keep blowing everything up. Thinking we want to create as big of a show as possible. Just keep firing the laser and blowing everything up. We're not really trying to make it through. We're just trying to make it seem like they need to direct resources towards us.
You know what? Yeah, let's see what this thing can do. And I think that Mora would flip on activate all the weapon systems and just divert power to those weapon systems. And I don't know if there's like an auto fire option or something, like some sort of Geist system that the AI Saxifrage can jump into and just make that show happen. But Mora will say to Threes, looks like I'm getting in the Paladin after all, and will wait for a moment before heading to the hangar to help make that show.
Threes would message everybody else and just say, all right, Tulip, Zasha, suit up. Looks like we're going home. Or at least I'm going home.
Aye, Captain. Captains? Commanders?
I'm the
Aye.
captain.
Got it. And she cuts the comm and starts to activate the inside of her mech. And you just see the lights inside start to whir to life. Bright blue and red, almost like 3D glasses shades being projected over her in different like patterns and scrolls.
Zasha's just ready. Like when it cuts to Zasha, she's already in the mech with just the front kind of lifted up so she can see out. She beep. All the little lights on the front light up, glow, and then cut back off. Ready.
Aboard the derelict cruiser, Trento is kind of barking orders, getting everyone loaded up, and he passes by as he's getting ready to go. There's like this altar almost set up, and on the altar are pictures. And there's a photo of Pax's father, a photo of Pax's mother, and below them, a photo of Pax. Trento passes by and brushes a hand across the frame of the picture of Pax. He says under his breath, "The prince has returned. Today is a good day to die." He puts his helmet on and gets into the mech, and this cavalry essentially mounts up and begins disembarking out of the hangar of this derelict cruiser. We see the Paladins catapulting out of the Okami, one after the other. After it's basically like a revolver, like one gets shot out, the hangars slot in the next one gets shot out, the hangars slot in the next one, they shoot out, and all of them hurtling towards the asteroid field. And there's this very Gundam Wing-esque spiral formation that happens as the exhaust fumes of all of the Paladins coalesce together. We see the cruisers, the blockade, surrounding the planet of Infernus. And that is where we're going to end our session for tonight. Because I don't want to rush this big-ass battle that's about to happen.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching.
You watch anime without checking the time, see how much time is left.
Yep, exactly. You're like, no, the credits are rolling. That was such a good episode. I'm gonna let these guys do their outros, and I'm so pumped for a big battle next time. It's been a while since we've had like a fight in this campaign, so it's gonna be great. We'll go ahead and start up here with JV. Go ahead and do your outro, man.
Hi. So my end credit scene for Zasha, she is playing on a pinball machine, the full arcade pinball style machine in the rec room of the Okami, and the ball gets stuck at the edge of the paddle so that it just comes straight back down at the paddle. And she's hitting the button to try and lodge it loose, and then flips the whole machine over. And when it does and the glass breaks, the glass turns into like the credits and stuff and starts raining down like glitter. I am JB, better known as Drop the Die. I do D&D and tabletop stuff. Come and say hello on my Twitter, where you can find links to everything that I do in the World Wide Web and the world at large.
Awesome. Barker, go ahead.
You see the name Barker at Inspire the Barks on Twitter appear on the screen, and then you see Mora just gazing at this data pad, totally distracted, hitting strange buttons, and nearby is a hedgehog that's looking at AI, like artificial saxifrage, holographic saxifrage, and Mora accidentally hits the wrong button, and the hedgehog becomes a hologram and saxifrage becomes real, and they're just kind of looking at each other like, holy crap. And that's it.
Awesome. And where can people find you online, Barker?
At Inspire the Barks on Twitter, of course,
Oh,
as the label of the...
Sorry.
He did
No,
his
it's
placard
okay.
first, Matt. Come on.
I'm
No,
sorry.
you were just... I think Matt was just trying to help me plug my Patreon.
I
little bit more,
was.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna stick with Twitter. I like Twitter.
Okay.
I don't like Twitter, but I like Twitter.
I feel like that's everyone's kind of deal with Twitter. But absolutely, you should go check out Barker's Patreon. It's great. Aaron, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron. You can find me at AaronDVS on Twitter for all your good nonsense that you desire and need. But for Mattie's end credit sequence, Mattie is walking through a desert, and that walk turns into a run. And this like really cracked sort of salt pan desert that he's running through, and you realize that the cracks are actually the lines of the hand of a giant saxifrage who picks him up in his hand and picks him up with like with her fingers and loads him into a revolver and spins the barrel and shoots him out into space, where he flies and flies, turning into a star, a trail, a rainbow trail, looking like the more you know star, just shooting through space until he finally makes his way, zooming towards a giant Janus, who is sitting on a fancy chair, and the star hits Janus's heart, and Janus doubles over and dies, and the pool of blood becomes the pool of blood becomes an ocean, and that's that's
yeah.
and that's it. I already plugged myself. Goodbye. Thank you. Great
It's like
session.
equal parts like James Bond and that weird psychedelic anime from
Yeah,
like the 80s.
it was very much like Roger Moore intro there. That was amazing.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah. All
Great
right.
game.
Thanks, man. Matt, go ahead.
As the end credits continue, the blood rolls into an ocean, and the ocean hits the coast of this city where all of the paladins on foot in their normal suits are running through the streets of the city, and they all raise both hands to the sky. In their hands, they each have a hedgehog, but they're all different colored hedgehogs, and they're like Power Ranger morphing pucks or whatever, and they shoot fucking colored lights into the clouds, and then each of our old format, like before the modification, mechs all like come down, but they're cartoony and boxy like a human wearing a mech suit. And as kaiju, all with the symbol of the Neo Dominion like branded on their chest, start to come out of the waters, we all start fist fighting them dramatically, and there's explosions in every part of the city, but it's a highly dramatic scene. And at last, Tulip launches her mech up into the sky, and it does like a 5-star kind of posture, and all of the other mechs from the Okami, the Big Wolf crew, all snap into Tulip's own mech, making a Megazord. And the Megazord is silhouetted, so you can't see the details of it by the sun because it's in the sky. And that's how I finish. And it is the silhouette of her new form, which is yet to be revealed. Next episode.
Wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Because why the fuck not? No noodles,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No noodles. We're going
There
for
might be.
the gold here.
And I'm Matt, and I don't have any plugs. Love the Paladins. Go watch all of these guys' channels.
Awesome. John, go ahead.
So for my end credit scene, I think to bring it down a little bit, I think before everybody's going off, you would see Threes inside of his cockpit, and he's just looking at a picture of probably the same picture that his uncle like brushed his hands over, where it's just him and his parents, and he would remember this moment where he's like sitting in a chair, his face is all bruised and bloody from probably some kind of scrap, and his dad is kind of like braiding his dreads, putting his dreads back together, and there's kind of like this silence where nobody's saying anything, but you can see that little Threes is like fidgeting, like he's waiting for his dad to admonish him, but he's not. And he eventually just blurts out and he says, "They said the Emperor was a thief." And his dad just shakes his head and he says, "What makes a bastion?" And Threes just kind of shoulders kind of slump down and he says, "We're defenders of the Empire." And his dad shakes his head and he says, "No. Bastions never raise their hands for anything but the people. What makes a bastion is a man who is willing to put his life on the line for the people. We do not serve the Emperor. We serve the people. And then Threes would put his hands on the picture and he'd say, Threes is ready and launching. And that would be the end of the credit scene. You guys can find me at Doombot Gaming on Facebook and at Out of Character on YouTube if you would like to hang out. But yeah, it's been a great session.
John, that was incredible. That was really, really good. All of the end credits scene. I feel like by the end of this campaign, like session 11, 12, the actual session is going to be 5 minutes, and we're going to allot like 30 minutes each for everyone's end credits scene. It's going to be incredible. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. We do play every couple of weeks. We're going to have to figure out a new date for the next session, though, because I'm going to be out of town on November 2nd. So we're going to figure out when we're going to play next. But definitely check that out. And Provokers is happening next Wednesday. So definitely come back and check out Provokers next Wednesday. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Happy gaming all. And we will see you next time on Paladins. Yeah.